Welcome to the Supply Chain Management's conference podcast program. It's a great joy to be here at VETS26 in New Orleans here in June of 2026. And I have a very special guest, longtime friend, the president of NaVOBA. But Matthew and I have been talking quite a bit about the importance of representing the veteran community in federal government contracting, in private and commercial contracting, and in other related procurement agencies contracting, whether it's supplier diversity, organizations, large businesses, corporate America. And Matthew's got real passion for this. That's why I wanted to have him on, because I believe that when you have a passion for what you do, you are going to be really good at it. And Matthew, who is really good at what he does, demonstrates that passion. So I hope you enjoy this podcast live from New Orleans here on Wednesday, the last day of our conference at VETS26. So it's a pleasure to welcome you, man.
Thanks, sir.
And what a joy. You and I have talked over the years, and I've never really had a chance to, until yesterday. And that passion that he has just came in. So when I first met you, you had just come into NaVOBA. How did you get to be president of NaVOBA? And what is NaVOBA?
Yeah, so it's the National Veteran-Owned Business Association. We like to call it NaVOBA because that's a little bit easier to say because the full name is quite a big mouthful there. But we were part of a veteran-owned media company called Victory Media. And so in 2007, a publication that was called Veterans Business Journal was rebranded to Vetrepreneur Magazine. I was an assistant editor of that magazine at the time, and in 2009, I took over as executive editor of that magazine. And we really were trying to take this idea of the success that the veteran community had seen in the public sector with the Public Law 10650 that established that 3% at that time set-aside program and really ushered in the idea of veteran-owned businesses as a community. We wanted to take that success and momentum to the opportunity that we saw for veterans in the private sector. And so at that time, in 2009, there were out of the Fortune 500, there were only 96 companies that had anything to do with veterans as part of their supplier diversity programs or mentioned vets as a demographic that they seek to work with as suppliers. And so we're very proud to say that number has climbed to nearly all of the Fortune 1000 companies.
That number is pathetic, though, when you think about it.
At the time, that was, we saw that as an opportunity. So
right. That's a great rate of
gratitude and optimism are some, key core values of our organization. But we always made the argument to corporate America that if we're going to do anything for any group, for any reason, vets have earned the right to be equally treated through their sacrificial service. And thankfully, corporate America has agreed. So for all intents and purposes, veterans have been welcomed into the opportunities that are extended to other folks with equal seat at the table for everywhere. And so the challenge that we found, though, is really helping vets understand that there is an opportunity, not instead of any federal government or contracting opportunities, but in addition to that, there's this whole world out there. There's an entirely different marketplace. And one of the questions that I asked about a veteran-owned businesses when I talked to them is, how many of you sell something that only the government buys? And it's a trick question because there's really nothing. So corporate America buys it too. I did have a clever fellow one time.
Great question, man.
Yeah. And so he thought that he got the better of it. And he had said, well, my company, we only sell physical security services, OCONUS, to the State Department for embassy protection. You're like, well, okay, but you're choosing to just sell that service to the State Department. Every corporate entity that has international business dealings sends executives and other folks, and they engage physical security services to protect those folks if they're going into places that are putting them in harm's way. So you could sell your services to corporate America. You just choose to sell it to the state, right? So, but it's just indicative of the idea that there's tremendous opportunity outside of that. And we would never tell a veteran to not try to compete for business in the government space. It's an incredibly lucrative marketplace with 5% of federal contracts being set aside for SDVOSBs. The opportunity is what? Between 25 billion a year, 30 billion a year, something like that. But if you look at the opportunity in the private sector, because there's 23 federal agencies, that have procurement budgets that exceed $500 million. So very frequently you'll hear the cliche that the federal government is the world's largest single purchaser of goods and services,
Yes.
which is a true statement, right? And I'm not by any way, shape, or form diminishing the opportunity that's there. But in the private sector, there's the Fortune 1000 alone. There are 1,000 massive multinational corporations that also spend billions in their supply chains. So just 5% of what's outsourced by corporate America represents at least $150 billion. So the opportunity for the private sector versus public sector marketplace is massively greater. And so we also have a distinct advantage in that programs that are designed for businesses based on who owns those businesses have been around for 57 years for folks from ethnic minority communities, and for the women-owned business community has been around for about 30 years, roughly. And so that creates an opportunity for vets because we're kind of the new kids on the block. So NaVOBA officially became a nonprofit certifying organization back in 2017. And we got a trademark on Certified DBE, which is in the private sector, their DBE and the business enterprise certification. And so the real important thing to understand with that is you don't have to be a small business to be able to sell to corporate America. And the public sector programs are relegated to small businesses. That's why it's the U.S. Small Business Administration certified. So corporate America doesn't necessarily care if you're small. They do like the fact that you're better known, and that gives you a distinct advantage. But if you happen to be successful enough to grow to a medium or larger sized business in your industry sector, you'll never lose the ability to provide that value to your customer that your company is better at. So we really just want to make it very clear to the veteran community that anything that you're going to do to the government side and any successes you've had, it's very wise policy to diversify and get revenue coming from wherever you need. And another selling point to that was actually brought up at this conference during the remarks from Mr. Jepson from JP Morgan Chase. Was talking about it from a lender's standpoint. If all of your revenue from your company is coming from one particular market segment that can experience volatility and disruptions or uncertainty, that actually makes a significant impact on the risk assessment when it comes to lending. I've been in this space for 20 years in December, and veteran business owners, like all business owners, very frequently need access to capital, and it's a very big concern. So having diverse revenue streams and be able to generate income from a plethora of customers from multiple sources makes you that much more attractive to lenders who are very risk averse to begin with. And so there's a whole lot of selling points about why you should want to continue to look into the opportunities in addition to the government's grace.
That is so profound. Thank you very much. So, one of our golden nuggets right away, right out of this whole initial presentation with that, is the fact that a business is really putting itself at risk by having one income stream or one source of revenue, as you described it. Whereas if you were to branch out as a business and have multiple streams of income, whether they be federal government contracting, state government contracting, local government contracting, supplier diversity, program contracting, corporate America contracting, you're really giving yourself a chance to present your business as much more stable and solid.
And you brought up a good point too with your statement there. Back in 2009, we also began what we call our state tracker program. So we were taking a look at any states that had any type of programs that were advantageous for veteran-owned businesses. And it's not all necessarily the state contracting. So for instance, the state of Oregon had a lending program to where if you were in the National Guard and Reserve and you were acclimated to serve, which happened to an awful lot of folks during OIF, OVF. And so, but then you come back and you were a business owner, they would lend you, I believe it's up to $50,000 at 0% interest, just as a recovery loan to get your company back on its feet. And then there were some things as insignificant as the state of Alabama waived like a $75 business license filing fee for veteran-owned companies, right? But we were looking at all the programs.
Every little bit helps, right?
Everything helps. But that was just the initial, I guess, just survey of the landscape that was out there, because it really then helped us to create different programs that would actually be significantly beneficial for veteran-owned businesses. One of the best programs that we've seen out there is the state of Maryland. So they, in addition to setting a percentage of contracts aside for veteran-owned companies, which I believe they try to hit a 3% of contracts similar to what the federal required. But the one thing that is unique there that is incredibly advantageous is the price preference program. So you and I are going to bid on a state contract with Maryland. I'm a veteran, you're not. I can be 5% higher than you, which is where your profit margins are going to be on that contract and still be considered low bidder. And so that gives you a lot of flexibility to say, okay, we're actually going to be able to make some money on this and still win that contract, which is great. And that's so much better than other programs that we see in places like Florida, for instance. They have a program there that looks good on paper. So it's kind of a tiebreaker. So once again, you and I are bidding on the contract. I'm a vet, you're not. If all things are equal and our bids are the same, then I would win the contract because I'm a vet, right? Guess how many times a veteran-owned company has won a contract as a result of that legislation since it was passed in 2009?
I certainly hope that number is not, sir.
Doug, the number is 0. But any other your competitors are submitting. And there's going to be variances in your past performance of what you're going to deliver on this. And so any buyer is able to say, well, even though the vet company and this company's price were the same, this company was superior for these reasons that they can come up with, maybe justifiable or not, sure. Which is why the scenario has never actually benefited in a veteran winning a contract. So if I'm wrong, anybody in the state of Florida, please correct me. We filed multiple Freedom of Information Act requests and they cannot prove to me that it has. And so until I see evidence to the contrary, the number is 0 as far as I'm concerned. So the reason that it's something like that is something we want to change, not only because it doesn't work, but it's actually worse than that because it looks good politically. Like, look, the Sunshine State has gone out of its way to try to give an advantage to veteran-owned companies, which there's political capital in. But if it's something that actually doesn't help and it convinces people that there is an advantage there, because maybe people make the choice to move their business there, or they start to spend a lot of time and energy and effort trying to bid on contracts that they're probably not going to win because they think they have an advantage. And you know, when you're bidding for contracts, it's an expensive endeavor and very frequently met with failure. And if you know that coming in that you don't have an advantage that you thought you had, maybe you wouldn't bid on things. So we're wasting people's time and wasting their money is something that we want to avoid as well. So we would love to see that law change, and we're working with different advocates in each of the states. We like to listen to folks. So if you anybody that is watching this, if you go to our website, it's NaVOBA.org/state tracker. And if there's nothing going on in your state or what's happening in your state is insufficient, we would love to work with you because a national organization doesn't matter so much to somebody in the state Senate in Florida or somebody in the House of Delegates in Virginia, but an employer firm of their voting constituents has a much more significant voice. And so we would love to work with you on that. But since we started the program in 2009, there were 7 states at that time. Now it's up to 35 states. Very good programs for varying elections.
So I just listened to 2 golden nuggets there, and then I have a small point to reinforce something that Matthew just said. So the first golden nugget is that when you're looking to relocate your business, do your homework first. Find out if there are advantages to where you're going to go and what they might be, and is there evidence behind that to support that claim. The second golden nugget is that there are some incentives for you and your business, particularly if you are a veteran. Many of our listeners are veterans. If you are a woman who owns a business, if you are a minority who owns a business, there are advantages to you, particularly in the federal government system. But if you do your homework, you'll learn that there are advantages in your ownership all the way down the totem pole, if you will. So that would be the second one. I'll give you a case in point. One of the things that we've learned, we're located in Los Angeles, California. The County of Los Angeles offers a 15% bid preference. If I compete for a contract with my company in the County of Los Angeles, I can be $14,999 more expensive on a $100,000 bid than my closest competitor and still win the bet. But it doesn't call for a tie. It does say I must be lower. Right. And as lower, I get that 15% bid preference. So that is so amazing. So if you're anywhere in or around Los Angeles County, you may want to look at LA County as a potential customer to take advantage of that incentive.
Sure. And we don't have a local or municipal government level program. Our state tracker program just this state level legislation.
Okay, very good.
But there are definitely, in addition to, I did not know what you're talking about with California, but it's not entirely isolated. The county of Illinois has something similar. I know Orange County, Florida has something like that. And I know that there's like the city of Indianapolis. I personally advocated, got a 5% set aside for better known companies contracting with the city of Pittsburgh.
Sweet.
A while back. So this would be a good opportunity to use AI, right? So type it into AI and say, hey, are there any legislative programs that give me an advantage to contract as a better known business? And you put some search parameters around that. But so, because that could be time-consuming research endeavor to hire a staff person. They did a great job for a free robot.
Yeah, for a free robot. That's where AI can come into.
Absolutely.
Very good. I love that. Thank you. Just the side note there, one of the programs near and dear to both our hearts is VIP, Veterans in Procurement. They are out of Montgomery County, Maryland. Montgomery County has got, as you earlier mentioned, has got a very aggressive veteran business program and support VIP rock stock in there.
Sure. Yeah, we've had a tremendous partnership with Barbara Ash and the oil program that they have. For the last 3 years, we've done the expansion of their existing program. So they have the START program to get into government contracting, the GROW program to expand in government contracting, and then the aerospace program, the international program. So they've got a pretty robust portfolio of different training programs that are available that anybody should look into. And they're competitive programs to get into, but people that graduate from them, there's tremendous knowledge and tremendous scalability from your business to learn from that. But we're very grateful to work with them as partners for the VIP Corp.
Yes.
So specifically a program
Where I was going with.
Yeah. So
Thank you. Go on.
Yep. So this is it's actually very historic because out of all the billions of dollars that are invested in helping train veterans become successful entrepreneurs, which our country invests very heavily, we're very fortunate, and we have a lot of taxpayer investment to help veterans be successful, and that's great. But I don't know if you've noticed this, but all of it really is steered to help vets sell to the federal government. So there's money to help you just start a business or for business development, small business development center, things like that. But as soon as the specificity of you being a veteran-owned company comes into play, the training starts to shift our figures, this requirement. And I can certainly say that we might even be a driver for some of that, because with Vetrepreneur Magazine, we would report on the federal government's progress and their failure to hit the 3% for years before. And so this idea of we're going to do everything you can to try to become compliant with our own laws, saying we have to work with vets, because we're a lot of the reason for that investment going in that direction. But for the first time in our nation's history, we got public sector funding, we raised half of the money through private sector contributions through our founding partners like Wells Fargo and Walmart and hotels and a bunch of other partners. But Barbara was able to raise the money through public sector funding. And so that was the first time there's ever any public-private sector partnership or any public money at all training vets on how to compete for the private sector. So we graduated our third cohort this year in May, or actually 3 weeks ago. And so it's just been a great program. So now we've had 150 vets that have graduated through that program in the last 3 years. We have it funded for the next couple of years coming over. So if you really want to learn how to grow your business and scale in the private sector, I'd recommend applying for any of the VID programs, especially the VID Club.
So as you can tell, I'm a VIP graduate. I've gone through 3 of the programs now. Corporate is next.
Okay.
I told Barbara the other week or so ago that that'll be next on my list. So then that will give me 4 programs under their belt. And every one of our company takes a nice little shot to arm every time they come back from that. Yes. So in closing, Matthew, I want to talk about, I've known what NaVOBA has helped the veteran community do for many, many years. But you guys are really growing. What would you say is the single greatest factor in your nonprofit organization's growth?
Everything that we do is designed to help veterans winning contracts. And everybody that we work with understands that. We literally have an avatar. Will this help Chuck win a contract, right? So we had NaVOBA. Chuck was kind of the quintessential veteran business owner. And so everything is focused on, is this going to help Chuck's business grow, right? And so really just making sure that that's the central focus. And so one of the things that's really important to me now, as kind of looking to the future, we really want to help serve the veteran entrepreneur from ideation to oath. And McKinsey Institution released a report in February of this year. Guess what percentage of businesses ended post-pandemic? 92%.
Yeah, you and I had that conversation.
92%.
That's TBI.
So we're the only community in. So if you're a veteran that wants to get into entrepreneurship, the best thing you can do is buy an established firm that has a proven track record of success, that has customers, that has processes. And so business owners, for those of you that have gone through this, you understand it's incredibly challenging. It's incredibly fraught with failure. And so if something has, all the people that have stepped on all those rakes and accomplished something, if you can get that acceleration into business ownership by acquiring that through acquisition, could not more strongly recommend that. And if you're a business owner that you're getting close to the time where you need to exit from your business, and you've created something of tremendous value. You should get what your business is worth to be able to retire. And frequently what happens is, life change and there's other things that are unexpected that just force the business owner to step aside. And then all the value that is created from that business just evaporates. So the people that work there, that have family over the years, and all of that just goes away. So we're really aggressively working on a program to connect veteran-owned businesses that want to sell, get them to maximize their valuation, get what they need to get out of their business to be able to retire, get optimal exit strategy, as well as connecting with another community of veterans to help a new generation of veteran entrepreneurs get into that business ownership. It's also beneficial for the customers that like working with veteran-owned companies. They like working with suppliers. They like to rely on the people they work with. And the fact that your company is veteran-owned is the stated advantage. And so if anybody's interested in being part of that equation in any way, we would love to be the connector to that. The final point on that is we're the only community of the blind. Every day there's fewer vets. That's just the reality of it, right? So there's more women, there's more minorities, there's more other folks as the population expands, grows, there's more of everyone except for veterans. So with that said, everything that we could do to keep any success and prosperity for veteran-owned businesses, we keep that veteran-owned, even if the ownership changes and people get retired, enjoy their life, and with the benefits of what they've created, we definitely want to be a part of it.
That's beautiful. What a great way to close, because you and I, as we spoke yesterday, we were talking a lot about the exit strategy and the importance of thinking ahead. Like, what do you want to do with your business? You know, we invested as veterans. Our primary mission is to help veterans get work, but also create wealth for veteran business owners. How can we as a veteran community help NaVOBA, and how can some of my peers become a member of your organization?
Yeah, so we're not a membership organization per se as much. So we certify veteran business enterprises. So if your company is veteran owned, come to us and we can get your company certified. And once you're on the team, all of our programs, we have quarterly matchmaker events that we do. There's no cost to that. Our VIP corporate program, there's no cost to that, Hogan, if you're accepted into that. And so everything that we do is designed to help your business grow. It's not for every business owner. The butcher, baker, candlestick maker on Main Street don't necessarily need to get certified by NaVOBA. So unless you're actively targeting 4,500 customers, you don't need to bother getting certified. It's additional effort. It's not going to necessarily help your business grow. We don't want to waste your time. We don't want to waste your effort. But if your business is in a contract position and you are a procurement business and you want to build your procurement readiness, you want introductions to corporate contacts, then certainly come join us. Take a look at NaVOBA.org. You can learn everything there is to learn about the certification program. And I did with one final thought, since we're here at VETS. We've always had a tremendous relationship with the National Med Swab Business Coalition.
I was just going to ask that.
Yeah, we've had a great relationship, and it's gotten better and better over the years. But they've always really done everything they can to make us welcome and feel part of this. And this event has been the greatest example that we've seen of them sharing the opportunity about the private sector opportunity with their members, which I think demonstrates real care and concern for the MBSBC members, because their organization helps you win government contracts. What we're doing is logically adjacent, but it's not their mission. And yet this organization still goes out of its way to make sure that they're sharing that because they want to see their members succeed, even if it's not with their direct target. So I just grateful for Scott's leadership and grateful for their team for everything that they've done to help accelerate that we're trying to help veterans do too, because I think we all share the same passion, and that's helping veterans with.
Yeah, it's a beautiful relationship you guys have. So the comment that I wanted to really harmonize on was your statement that they're doing everything that they can, this is NBSBC, is doing everything that they can to help their members win contracts. So that, to them, it doesn't matter if it's a federal government contract, a state contract, a corporate America contract. And if they need help to help them do that, they'll ask for it. And hence the partnership between the three organizations that we've talked about today. I love that because 10 years ago, that wasn't the case.
Yeah, we've definitely seen real collaboration and organizations really refining their lane and how collaboration can really work. So it's really great to see, because I think you're right. There was a time when and everybody wanted to be in charge of doing everything, and that never was. You got to be the best of what you do and then collaborate.
And absolutely. And there might be our last golden nugget that we'll bring up in another podcast is consider the power of collaboration. And I was going to ask him, but we're out of time. So if there's some more, maybe we'll do part 2 next one.
Yeah, sounds like a plan.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.